I mean, come on. Human joystick,
X Factor.
X Factor, just
Shorty doo wop.
he's got it all. Wide receiver, return specialist, 7 years with the Chiefs, 2 years with the Rams. Chiefs Hall of Famer, you name it, man. He's got it all. Dante, glad to have you here. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Oh, I am just living the dream, as they say. I know it's cliche, but
But we all are.
we
Really.
all are. And the Kansas City Chiefs, if it wasn't true for us, it's got to be true for the Kansas City Chiefs because right now they're on the cusp of a three-peat, which has never been done in NFL history. How does that make you feel being a former member of the Kansas City Chiefs?
It makes me feel really, really good to be a part of an organization that, in my opinion, deserves it. The fan base, the way the Hunts run their organization, the way they treat their former players. I can't say enough good things about everyone involved. So it makes me very, very happy to see the success. And think about the people that are having the success. Andy Reid. How can you hate that guy? Patrick Mahomes does all the right things. Brett Veach, great GM. So and then, of course, the late, great Lamar Hunt and his son Clark Hunt are just amazing people. So couldn't have happened to a better group of people.
They're pressing all the right buttons
Yes,
as
they
of
are.
right now, which is why you look at them, 17 consecutive wins in one-score ball games. That's just absurd, absolutely absurd. In your eyes, how has Kansas City been able to get to this point? Of course, it's the organization as a whole, but what about the players on the football field in particular? How does Andy Reid and them do it?
Well, you talk about the players on the field. I think it starts with continuity within the organization. I don't care if it's Apple, it can be Walmart, Chick-fil-A. That organization and that structure and that culture has to be right. And I think the continuity of Andy Reid, Brett Veach, Spagnolia, those guys are the glue and the constant. And then everyone else, you can kind of just plug in and right? Plug in and play. So I think it starts there. And then because of the culture that Mahomes, Kelsey, Andy Reid, and those guys have set, anyone that comes in, you have a culture, you have a set of bylaws of the way they do things. And it's hard to have because it starts at the top. And I think we're ran great from the top down.
Well, certainly you had a good quarterback throwing you the football. How would you describe Patrick Mahomes and the evolution of Patrick Mahomes to this point?
That's a great question, because he has definitely evolved. Obviously, he was a gunslinger when he came out. He got Tyreek Hill, 5,000 yards in one season, 50 touchdowns. But then he had to realize, okay, there's no more Tyreek. How do I get the same goal obtained without having a guy like him? You got to be patient. And that's hard to do when you have the skill set of Mahomes. Then he starts to beat you with his brain, with his mental capacity. And I just see a guy that had just raw, fundamental, basic, physical, gifted skills, but now he's learning to use his brain as well. That's a recipe for GOAT.
A recipe for a goat. Well, speaking of a goat, although, I mean, it's up for debate, and just in Chiefs Kingdom alone, you know a guy by the name of Tony Gonzalez.
Of course.
There's a guy by the name of Travis Kelce.
Of course.
Has been legendary during this run with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Do you see any resemblance between the two? Why
No.
do you – okay. So with them being different, how has Travis Kelce been able – what do you think of Travis Kelce just in general then?
As a person, I love him. One of my favorite people on earth. Just a fun dude, good energy. I've always just loved interacting with Trav.
Yeah.
That's number one. As a football player, I don't think he and Tony resemble at all. Tony was more of obviously a great catcher, great route runner. But Travis, what he can do once he has the ball in his hand is a separator for me. The yaks yard after catch. Tony never had that. I played with Tony. Tony had unbelievable hands. He worked hard at his craft. He could run great routes. And any type of jump ball, contested ball situation, Tony was coming up with it. Travis, on the other hand, can give you the big dynamic plays and things he can do once he catch it, Tony could only dream of. Sorry, Tony.
I love it. You're a special team savant. There's a guy by the name of Nico Remigio.
Love him.
Oh, man. You knew exactly where I was going with it. A guy who has been called up, who's been on the practice squad, who's been part of the main roster, who's been on the practice squad. What do you see from Nico Remigio with that return game that he has?
I see a guy that has no fear, and that's one of the main characteristics that you need to have in order to be successful returning the ball. Yeah, you got to be able to catch it, of course. You need some speed, of course. But if you want to be dynamic and you want to be special, you got to have no fear, because that unleashes all the component that it takes to be special and make special plays. So for me, I see a guy that's not afraid to hit it up in there, hit it right at the coverage team when you need to. He has great vision. He breaks tackles. And I look for him to make an impact on Sunday.
Looking forward to that, too. Of course, the way that he will do it, though, will be a little bit unconventional compared to when you were playing as a Kansas City Chief, because you look at the way that the return game has changed over the years. It's definitely different.
Definitely.
You have different rules when it comes to kickoff returns. That's the most notable thing. If you were a member of the Chiefs today, would you just go crazy with sort of the limitation with the kick return game, or no?
I don't think so. I said going into this season that I didn't think that we were going to have more touchdowns, because it was going to be more difficult for the return man just based on how they were lined up. As a return man, you have to understand, we want guys to get out of their coverage lanes. So when they start 70 yards back, the probability of that happening goes way up. Well, if you're 25 yards from the return man, the probability of you getting out of your lane goes down. So it's just more difficult. Now, I would have definitely taken every kick out of the end zone. I don't care about that kick. Kick it to the back. I'm taking it. You better kick it out of the stadium, or else you return it, you're going to have to cover it. That would have been the difference with me. That old catching it, taking a knee, doing this mess, nah.
Not your style.
Not my style.
Dave Toub, what are your impressions of Dave Toub? He gets such high praise in the locker room. What does he do as a special teams coach that gives him those accolades of being known as one of the best special team coaches out there in the NFL?
I think, I haven't been inside the locker room, but I know what it takes to be special on special teams. And he did it in Chicago. He's doing it now with the Chiefs. That tells me he's galvanizing his unit. And with special teams, yes, technique is involved, but more than technique is want to. So you look at the field goal block. You look at the return game. You look at the coverage. That's just that tells me this guy's galvanizing the troops and getting his guys on board and making them really buy in to whatever he's selling.
Well, I'm glad that you bring up that aspect too, because how many people have said, well, the Chiefs are lucky. They're the luckiest 15-2 team in NFL history.
Okay.
And
when you play with, hey, I heard this before. When you play with skill, good luck will happen.
That's a good way to look at it.
That's a Jay-Z reference.
I love the fact you're dropping Jay-Z lines here on the show. But, I mean, surely you just get sick and tired of hearing it all, don't you, about the Chiefs and the officials helping them out. It's because of Taylor Swift. It's look how lucky they are.
We've heard this before, though. So I'm not sick of it. You got to expect it. With winning comes this hate. It's something that, for whatever reason, humans are equipped with. We love to build a team, a person up, and we love to tear them down. We're at the point to where people are ready to tear this team back down. 7 straight AFC championships, 5 Super Bowl trips. I mean, if I'm not a Chiefs fan, I hated the Patriots. Just like Patrick said, we all hate them. It's just what it is. But when you're the person that's having that success, you welcome that. And I think that's where the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, and everyone are at.
What do you think's going on in the locker room with it being history? Do players talk about such things?
Of course. Of course.
Because everyone keeps saying, no, we don't do it. But come on.
Of course. And if you don't do it, let's say they are telling the truth. You don't do it, you're definitely hearing it. So no matter what, it's within your psyche that is out there and up. Now, let's go back. They don't do it. Pretty sure I heard Patrick Mahomes at the parade last year said, we're going for 3. Pretty sure. So.
He put the pressure out there anyways.
And I love it.
And that's what you want. You want to relish in that. That's what
right.
you want.
That's
And that's what Patrick Mahomes and this team, I think, has been about. It's amazing because just listening to players today, they're like, there's a calmness. It's what it is. We've been here before. It's such a a calming thing to where we don't even think about it anymore, which I think that says a lot. Do you have any opinions on Philly? Have you seen Philly?
Of course. I live in New Jersey, so I've seen too much of Philly, unfortunately. Obviously, a formidable team. Saquon Barkley is an absolute monster. Jalen Hurts grew up in Houston, so I followed his career because I'm a Houston native. Don't sleep on him as well. He may not be the flashy Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson type, but he can beat you with his legs and his arm. Philly is formidable and will be a very, very difficult challenge for the Chiefs in trying to repeat.
Let me ask you about your career for a moment. Did you ever, when you were drafted, when you went to Kansas City, did you ever think, okay, I'm going to make my mark as a special teams guy?
No. Well, I say no, but at the same time, that's what I was drafted for. But because throughout my entire career, starting back in middle school, high school, and in college, I just always had a mentality that I was going to not be the man, but contribute like in a big way. I just never settled for a small role at any level. Now, the Chiefs drafted me specifically to return kicks. I had to take over for Tamarick Vanover. So I knew what my role going in was, but my mentality was, no, I can do more than this.
One more, and then I'll let you get going. I was telling everyone, Dante Hall is going to be on the show. I'm super stoked because I have really one of the first memories of being at a Chiefs game. It was negative 25 degrees outside. You're playing the Denver Broncos. Opening kick.
I remember it.
You house it. And I'm jumping up and down in the nosebleeds with my brother. I can't feel my legs because it's so damn cold. Is there one return in particular that stands as the greatest in your mind?
For anybody or myself?
Yourself.
Oh, myself. Ooh, the greatest. Man, that's a tough one. That's a tough question.
Because for me, obviously, boom, done. But you obviously have had some incredible ones.
Everyone talks about the Denver punt return, right? Obviously, that's up there. It's not even my favorite. My favorite is one against Baltimore Ravens, regular season game.
Uh-huh.
I had another one on Christmas Day versus the Oakland Raiders, Save the Christmas. And another one that comes to mind is in the playoffs because that's the highest moment, that's the highest level I've ever played in the NFL. So to be able to take one back when it really, really matters in the playoffs, those would be my top three.
Well, Dante, I know you're here representing Revive with Mueller Sports. I'm going to talk about it coming up next, so I'm not even going to ask you about it now, but I'm sure you're going to want one of those when it's all said and done.
I use these all the time. I used it last night, as a matter of fact. And, yeah, man, good stuff, definitely.
Dante, X Factor, man, human joystick. I got your bobblehead at our office, by the way. It is Dante Hall with us. Dante, thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
All right, we'll be back with more here on The Pulse.
The heartbeat of